We get so caught up chasing the goals that we don't celebrate the wins. So that's why I'm very big on celebrating them all the way, because it's the small wins that allow you to get to the big win.
Hello, and welcome to the Connect podcast. This show is all about helping you connect to your soul's calling so you can take action on it. Because the sweetest success is a blend of discovering your purpose with the inner drive to bring it to life. I'm Sheila, health coach, lifestyle entrepreneur, and mom of two, best known for my online wellness programs, mentoring, and self-love passion. Listen in for inspiring interviews, solo chats, and Q&A sessions that will move you past overwhelm towards what lights you up. Stop accepting good enough and go for your version of great in your health, business, and relationships. Let's get started. Welcome to Interview Day on the podcast. As a business owner of over 12 years, my guest has experienced the highs and lows that come with the territory. Suseth Allen began her business journey by opening her own wedding and event decorating and planning company. What started out as a side hobby when she was on maternity leave grew quickly, and in her fourth year of business, she opened a storefront and quit her well-paying full-time job to focus solely on her business. Sue became the accountant, social media strategist, customer service department, and manager, all while mothering two small children. She began sacrificing sleep and eventually burned out, with her mental health starting to deteriorate. She was left feeling overwhelmed and undervalued. She decided to completely rebrand her business, set boundaries, create systems, and hire the right people to help her. All of these experiences led to her developing a series of successful processes and techniques that can help others avoid what she went through. Suseth helps small business owners find solutions to run their operations more efficiently and to create a consistent flow of income with, most importantly, a healthier work-life balance. Suseth's energy and ideas are so inspiring. Take notes while you listen to this one and enjoy the conversation. Suseth, thank you so much for being here today. I'm really glad that we could make this happen. I know it's been a busy time for you in your work.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. I'm really excited.
So you are the face of Sue Knows Business, and we've gotten to know each other as you've been featuring different voices on your entrepreneur series on Instagram.
Yes.
And we're going to dive into the way that you serve the businesses and entrepreneurs with your work. And first, I'd love to start with a little bit of history. Where were you born and raised, and what led you to this place in your life and this type of work?
Sure. So I was born and raised in Toronto. I am now located in East Toronto in Oshawa. So always been an East End girl. I've actually lived different places growing up around the city. But my mom is in Lindsay, and so I'm a bit closer to her now. My history. So I have always been a serial entrepreneur from when I was little. I used to sell lollipops in high school for $1. My sister would travel to the States, and they had these really big lollipops. And I used to bring them to school all the time. And a lot of my friends were asking me for them. And I said, hey, you have to pay for it. I said it jokingly until one of my friends actually paid me for it, gave me $1. And then I realized, like, hey, I can make this into a business. I was, I think, 13 at the time, 14 at the time. And I started a little lollipop business. That was the first business I started. And I've always been doing a lot of my own business growing up over the years. Most recently, I was an event planner and decorator for 6 years. I did that business, started out just on the side. I was on mat leave, and I really like to do decor. And I started to do my kids' birthdays. My friends and family would come, and they would say, hey, who did the decor? I'm like, I did. Then their friends and family would come and ask for me to start to do their decor for their events. So a business that I didn't have planned, I just started doing it. I went back to work after the year, and I was working and still continuing the business. And I got extremely busy, and I was working round the clock. I'd get up, I would deal with the kids in the morning, and then I would work, and then I would do my business after. It became very taxing because I was going 24/7. And I said to myself, I'm like, you know what? I think that I can quit my job and do this full time. And so I took a huge leap of faith, and I resigned from my full-time job. I was working from home. And I did it because I was making the same income from my business as I was for my full time. And I figured, well, if I'm making, as much money as I am part-time on my business, imagine what I would make working full-time. So I did that in my fourth year. I opened up a storefront with a friend of mine who was also in the event business. And everything was going well until I realized when I resigned, I had to now look at my business directly in my face. What I mean by that is when I was doing my business, I was so caught up in doing everything that I didn't actually pay attention to what I was charging people. I wasn't paying attention to a lot of my systems weren't in place, and I was doing too much. I was doing my accounting by hand. I was doing everything manually. And so my time wasn't being used efficiently. So now that I'm doing this full time, I remember the change was when I received an invoice from my my dry cleaner guy. He used to clean all my tablecloths, and it was $800 for a weekend. And I said to myself, "Whoa, that's a lot of money." And I looked at how much I charged the clients for the weddings. I did 2 weddings that weekend, and it didn't match up. I wasn't charging correctly at all. And so it was at that point I said, "Whoa, what am I doing?" I was so caught up in working, being a mom, being a wife, running my business. I didn't actually sit down to plan out anything. And so I was just pulling numbers out my pocket, like, hey, I'll charge you this amount for your wedding and charge you that for your birthday. I didn't actually have a plan in place, and I wasn't accounting all my expenses and everything else. I made a lot of, I don't want to say mistakes, but at the time there were mistakes, which turned into life lessons, because now that I'm doing it full time, I had the time to sit down and look at, well, how much did I charge for this wedding? Because my bill for my dry cleaning alone was 800, and I had to then revise everything. I had to rebrand myself so that I can now charge more and put myself into a luxury category. I had to create systems and hire people in place to now assist me with the accounting, with doing the events on. So a lot of things changed. And in doing the rebrand, I had to create systems in place that were efficient for me, because at this point, the whole purpose of me working my own business was that I would be more available to my family and have a better work-life balance. That's not what happened at all. So I had to take a step back and kind of, redo everything and make an actual plan, which I didn't have one to start with because I didn't plan for this business. I just was doing it out of fun and then it turned into a business. So from doing that now, unfortunately, I got into a car accident and I wasn't able to physically do any more weddings or events. Because like I said, a large part of it was decor. So 2019 is when I stopped doing that business. So from there, another thing is my background has always been customer service. I was a flight attendant for 9 years. I've worked at many different telecommunications places. So I have a really strong customer service background. So in combination of my experiences and my life lessons, is what I like to call them, I decided, you know what, a lot of people come to me, a lot of business owners. I had a lot of friends that are in the same industry, and they would come to me, hey, Suseth, I have a client, I don't know what to say, or what should I do, in the situation. A lot of people kept coming to me for advice, and they were telling me over the years, you should be a business consultant. You should really, you're really good at this. You really have an eye and a way of putting, things into words that can help people. And I kept saying, no, guys, I'm not. And going through my experience personally and having to rebrand and put everything into place is where I said, you know what, this is actually a huge need with smaller businesses, because a lot of times, especially women, we get so caught up in taking care of everything else. We have a poor balance. We don't have a balance at all. And that's exactly what I went through, right? I didn't have time for myself. I didn't have time for my family. Everything was just on the business. And so I had to figure out a way to make a better balance. I created business hours. So after a certain time, after 6 o'clock, I wasn't responding to emails. I wasn't doing anything work related. That was my family time. I stopped working, with this business now, I should say, but with the event, most of the events were on the weekends. So I had to create a balance so that I can have time for my kids and time for the family, as well as time for the business. So many things that I went through myself that now I implement, and I also help other small businesses. And I say to them, hey, you know what? You have a great business, but you need a bit more structure. You need to have a better balance. A lot of times, especially women, like I said, we're so caught up doing everything for everybody that we put ourselves on the back burner. And sometimes that burner doesn't even get turned on at all. We just keep going and we don't have any me time. And I've experienced burnout. I've experienced depression. I've experienced anxiety from just doing too much. So now I help other business owners to say, you know, have a better structure. This is what you should do in terms of making things a little bit more efficiently. And that's essentially how Suno's business came into play.
It's amazing how so often our experiences, the things that we needed to learn, then become the things that we teach others.
Yeah. Oh,
Kind of
yeah.
like how with wellness has been for myself. Same
Mhm.
thing. And the beauty in that is you've been there. It's not book knowledge or theoretical, it's experienced. And so
Yeah.
you know the feeling of your clients who are very similar to perhaps how you got started and the challenges that they're facing. And I'm curious to know, what is the makeup of your family right now with your husband, your kids? What does that look like? How old are your
Uh,
kids?
s-
You have
so my daughter is 6, that's Savannah, and my son is 11, that's Xavier. And my husband, we've been married, oh goodness, 9 years now. 9 years, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
congratulations.
yeah, thank you. Together for 13 years. I met him from one of my previous jobs, so he's very helpful. When I was doing the event business, he was my partner in crime. He was there neck and neck. He was my first employee. He doesn't like when I say that, but he was. And so that's how we kind of got started. And then I expanded to have students. I got some students from the college that would help me. And then I actually hired on some part-time associates to help me run the business.
That's excellent. And knowing that it's all hands on deck in your family, your husband understands
Mhm.
things that you're facing so
Mhm.
that you have that support emotionally to be
Yeah.
able to understand what you're going through. That's so, so important. And I'm sure you must find that as well with some of the clients that you have with the businesses that they're either starting or scaling. What do you suggest for people who are just starting out in business? Like, what are the top 3 things that you think a new business owner should be thinking about getting help with so that they don't find themselves so overwhelmed out of the gate and they can actually shine in the areas that they're best at?
Okay, great. So, in terms of business ownership, a lot of business owners have a lot of great talents. Unfortunately, it doesn't always translate to being a great business person. So, what I mean by that is that, say, for example, you're a baker and you bake cakes really well. That's your talent, but if you lack doing accounting or you lack wanting to respond to emails, hire someone to help you, because what ends up happening, I noticed a lot and it happened with myself as well. I had to realize what my areas of improvements were or areas of need. I was trying to do everything myself. That one creates burnout. Two, it's not efficient. When I was trying to respond to emails, sometimes it would take me days to get back to a client because I was trying to do everything. So I think the first thing is that to recognize your strengths and weaknesses, and then know what you do well and the things that you don't do as well. Get someone else, a professional or a friend or a family friend, to assist you in doing that in the beginning until you can actually hire people and professionals, or even if you pay for programs, accounting programs. There's a lot of systems out there that you can set up that work as a virtual assistant. For example, there's 17 Hats or Honeybrook. Those programs are really great because then it takes away a lot of the administrative part of it for you, which is very taxing on your business in the beginning. So I would say hire, hire or get volunteers in the beginning to help you out with the business in areas of weaknesses. Secondly, I would say is to have time management. Time management is super important because, again, as I mentioned, if you don't have time management and you're so caught up in doing your business, you're so caught up in work, and you're so caught up, doing everything else, you're gonna miss out on your family life, your me time, and those things are as important as your business. Because at the end of the day, if you keep going on and you have burnout or you experience anxiety or depression, and you just start your health starts to suffer, you're not going to be efficient. Not to your business, right? So not to your business, not to yourself, not to your family. So that would be the second thing, is to have time management, so that you can have a better structure and a better work-life balance. And then lastly is your finances. I think that when starting out, you have to consider all the expenses. Are you where you're getting your money from to start your business? Is it coming from your personal accounts? Are you going to apply for a loan? Are you going to apply for a grant? Are you going to try to make business on its own and then grow after? A lot of times, business owners, we want to go big right from the beginning. You need to creep before you walk. So a lot of times with finances, as I also experienced myself, you have to look at the overall picture and make a plan. Having a business plan is super detrimental because that's your map of your business life. Where's it going to go? Where am I headed? Do I want to go, and how I'm going to get there? So those things are super important when starting out, and even throughout your entire business. Like, those three things have to be maintained throughout. So 3 things to focus on, I would say, is time management, having a business plan, and including your finances, and just having that structure. So those are the 3 things I would say are super important.
And so in dealing with virtual assistants, because I know for what your particular focus is you're very much about brand, getting people on their brand, helping them with their overall structure of their business, and some other things like that, like the forward-facing elements, and then the bringing their vision to life visually and otherwise. Do you have local connections in Canada and Toronto even who are in the virtual assistant space that you kind of refer out to people, or do you use, like you say, there's these other services that are just online, they're global?
Yeah, so there is a company called Checklist Canada, and they're a Canadian-owned company. They do virtual assistants for North America, so they don't only just work in Canada; they work in the States as well. And amazing! I actually hired one of her virtual assistants to assist me with a project I'm working on, and absolutely the best money spent. So how that works with this particular company, is the first time I've experienced it, is that she has on her website, so you can actually read the profile of all the virtual assistants. So you have the option of picking one yourself, or you can speak to someone from Checklist Canada and tell them your needs, and then they would make a recommendation and present to you, whichever virtual assistant they think would be a best fit. And then you meet with them on Zoom, you speak with them. And from there, if you do like that person, you want to go ahead with them, you start whatever task it is. And every time they're working on a project for you, there's a program. I didn't know this existed. There's a program that actually tells you when the person started working on. So say, for example, she started working on my project at 1:00, she'd log in, and then it will track all that she's doing and the time that she checks out. So the time is actually being accounted for. And it's such a life changer, because again, going back to doing everything on your own, it can become strenuous, even when you have systems in place. Because even to set up 17 hats and Honeybrook, that takes hours to do if you know what you're doing. If not, it could take an entire week to figure out how to set those systems up. So there's a lot of benefits to having a virtual assistant when you have a lot of different things going on in your business.
I really like the way they are able to gauge that, because often, and I would imagine that you would have people also looking at what are those tasks that are maybe not in your zone of genius that you want to invest in a VA to do that, because that's less expensive than getting a full-time employee. But you're going to gauge first, how long do each of these tasks take me? Most likely they'll be more skilled and do it much more efficiently, but at least you've got the idea of this is how much time, because I think it can stop people getting help because they're like, I don't know how many hours a week I will need help. If it takes me this long, but sometimes it takes me this long. So that's really great. They're able to gauge the hours.
They have packages. So you can actually purchase a 10-hour package, 15 hours, or you can do it by the hour. They have a casual assistant. So say, for example, you didn't know how much time you would need, and you didn't want to go in and put in the 10-hour package, you can do a casual assistance. Again, everything is tracked. So you don't have to be concerned about them saying, oh yeah, we used 8 hours and there's nothing to account for. You can actually see the progression, and they provide you with a report each week of what the assistant is doing. So that's just another thing I want to throw out there, that even if you're not sure about the time, they have a casual option there too. Very flexible.
Thank you for sharing that. I wanted to throw that question out there because I love supporting Canadian business.
Mhm.
And, I love supporting people all over the world, of course, but it's kind of neat to have that homegrown feel.
Sure.
And I just had a feeling that you would be connected in that way. And there's something really interesting about this idea. And I will say, particularly with women, and I know I've experienced it myself upon launching different elements of my business, the asking for help part tends to be a real challenge.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I think it's like inbred into us that we should be able to do it all. Looking great, feeling great, being a great caretaker at home and a great mom and being everywhere. And then, being happy and elevating everyone, it can take a toll. And then when we ask ourselves, okay, where do I need help? We think, well, it's hard because I'm the helper. But
Yeah.
really, for any of us to shine, asking for help is so, so important. So I love that you are inviting women to do this. And you're also showing in the way that you run your business how it helps you focus on the things that you're really good at. And I can tell you've got an eye for design. It's interesting what you were saying about the element of the event business that you were doing. I'm sure I can only imagine what it looked like. I'd love to see pictures of some of the venues that you did,
Yeah.
because your social media presence, all of the various things that you put out are so eye-catching and
Thank you.
professional, but there's like a warmth to them. They're not starchy and, traditional businessy. They're actually really fun and vibrant too. And I think that's one thing a lot of people are trying to do right now with their online businesses or even brick and mortar businesses, kind of expanding their online presence, is to create a warm, eye-catching, authentic vibe visually for themselves online. So I think you're doing amazing with it.
Oh, thank you. Well, part of that too, I'll tell you a little back end story. When I was first starting Suno's business, I have a friend of mine. She's also a business owner, and I said to her, "Okay, this is what I want to get into," and she goes, "Okay, great. Just make sure, because my personality naturally, I'm very bubbly. I'm very energetic. Just I have like a really good appreciation of life just through some of the things I've experienced. I had a sister of mine that passed away when she was 33. I'm 30, about to be 37 now. So even that alone for me was huge. When I turned 33, it dawned on me, and I was like, oh my goodness, like she was my age. And just my life then, a lot of my outlook changed for me then. And so I've changed a lot in terms of how I look at life and how I want to get things balanced. And I don't want to be, missing out on especially my children growing up. So there's a lot of things that I had to redefine and rebalance in order to make sure that I can appreciate and be grateful for every day. I have some down days, of course. I'm human, but I'm saying that I've changed quite a bit since then. In terms of my business now, when I was coming out, I try to come out and be 100% professional. I was on with my blazers every time, and it was half me, because I love business. I can talk about business all day every day. The other part of it was that I felt that I was restraining my personality. Friend said to me, she said, you have to tone it down. You can't, like, you're talking about business, don't crack any jokes, go on, talk about business. And I tried doing it, and it just wasn't me. And I felt that the way for me to engage my audience, my clients, my potential clients, is to be a human, to be me, to talk to people, tell them about my life lessons or mistakes, if you want to call them, and relate to them. Say, hey, a lot of times people post the successful parts, but we don't know the back end story. We don't understand the journey. So by me being transparent and explaining to my followers, to my audience, and speaking to them as I'm speaking to a friend of mine, I feel that that's what sets me apart in terms of making me relatable, right? So what I do, lots of people do. There's lots of business consultants out there. But the difference I find with me is that I'm transparent. I will share my mistakes and say, hey, this was the mistake that cost me hundreds of dollars. I don't want you to make that mistake as well. and this is what I did in order to fix that issue, that problem. And so a lot of times the feedback that I get from my clients and just from some of my followers, like, you're so real. I was in the store the other day, and this girl came up to me, and she goes, "Hey, Sue." I go, "Hi." We had our mask on, so I didn't recognize her. And we're talking for about 5 minutes. I'm trying to figure out, where do I know this person from? And then I couldn't, and I said to her, "I'm so sorry. I don't know where I know you from." And then she goes, "Oh my goodness, you don't actually know me. I'm one of your followers." And I had like a little celebrity moment, like, "Oh." And she said to me, she goes, "No, it's just like you talk to me, and I feel like we're friends. So like, meeting you in person, I didn't even think that you wouldn't know me." And I felt so good, because that's what I wanted. I want people to take me for what I am. I want to be on, on not TV, but on Instagram, and pretend to be something that I'm not. So it's either you're gonna love me or not like me so much. And I find that most people are drawn to me for my personality. And that's kind of like where I came from, that the aesthetic part of it. Now, I have a huge background in art. I used to paint, draw, and I did a lot of things like that. So I've always been artsy and very creative. So even when I'm doing my templates, like, sometimes they take me hours. I'm so picky about how this looks and the colors. And that's part of the creative part of me that kind of transitioned over to the branding part. So that's where that's coming from.
I love that you're able to mix both of that, the arts and the
Yeah,
business. And really, business is an art, is it not?
it
My
is.
goodness. And I feel like in the last year and a half, people have really learned that we can all tone it down a little bit, this whole business tone. People are human beings, and everyone gets better work done when we can show up authentically as ourselves. And I
Yeah.
love when you hear about people who are like, doing Zoom meetings and saying, "Hey, keep your pets in view. We want to see your pets." I was like,
Yeah.
yes, we love our pets. We love our kids. This is a
Yeah.
real part of who we are. We're multifaceted beings.
Yeah.
And to think that, okay, when you step into your business role, that everything else falls away. Well, that's just wrong. We're carrying
Yeah.
around with us the loved ones in our lives, the hobbies, the creative desires, all of these things follow us. They're within us no matter
Yeah.
what we're doing. So yes, let it shine, let it come out in all you do.
Yeah.
And with that thought, actually, of the last year and a half, I'm curious to know what has shifted in your life and business over the last year. I noticed that you have some really high value services, the brand day where people would come in and do a photo shoot and all those kinds of things. I'd
Mhm.
love to hear about that and to hear what has shifted for you.
Okay, so I started this business during the pandemic, and I saw again a need, as a lot of people were starting out their business as a result of the pandemic, losing their jobs.
Okay.
And I saw, like, people I knew personally, they would come to me again and say, "Hey, Sue, I have this business idea. I lost my job," multiple people. And so I figured, okay, well, if I have a handful of people that know me personally that need their assistance, there must be more people. And that's kind of like, it was a bunch of different things that kind of birthed the idea of doing the business consulting. And so when I started, I thought about the needs of the clients as well as my experiences. So again, going back to, doing it the standard way of being a business consultant, I wanted to look at, okay, well, business isn't what it used to be, even 2 years ago.
Right.
You can purchase almost anything online, and so how do you go about that shift? So some of my clients have been in business for 18 years, and they had to shift their business to online, and they didn't know how to go about that shift, right? There's some people that, not to say they're not successful, but they're successful in person, but now they don't know how to go about gaining an audience online. How do they shift their services that they were doing in person to now online? And it's almost, I can't really think of any business that hasn't really shifted to online. Even grocery shopping, you don't have to leave your house to grocery shop anymore. You can get
Yay.
delivered, right? You delivered to your house. So in terms of the shift, I the Suno's business was started during the pandemic. With the photo shoot, that was a result of my photo shoot that I did when I first launched Suno's business, and a lot of great feedback. People love my pictures. I did an entire package. Again, mixing in my creative background plus my event planning. The day of the shoot, I had many vendors involved. I had 2 photographers, a videographer, a makeup artist, a hairstylist. I had like an entire crew of people. So I wanted it to be efficient because I'm paying for this place by the hour. I wanted to know, hey, you're supposed to come at 10 o'clock. You come at 10:05. You could. So everything was planned out. I had an 8-page document that I sent out to every one of them. I had the outfits that I was going to take. I had the poses. And I also went as far as put in what room I would be taking the pictures in. So I kind of went a little bit too, not too far, but it was great because everything went well. So I had a document. It had my outfit. It had the poses. It had the room that I'll be taking those poses in that outfit. And they were so amazed. Like, I've never seen anybody do this. Like, oh yeah, I just want us to all be on the same page. I want you to know that you're supposed to show up at this time. You're supposed to do this during this time. Everything was broken down. So from that now, and then gaining my clients through the business consultant and doing assessments and looking at their brand. And I'm like, you need to have professional pictures. Where's your professional pictures? Oh, I took pictures on my phone. No, those are not professional pictures. But then my first client that did the photos, she said, okay, sure, I'll do it. But I don't have a photographer. I don't know a makeup artist. I don't know like anything to make it professional. So I put together my same team that I had before for myself and used it then. I had another client. And so where there's 1 or 2 people, that's an idea right there. And I realized, okay, again, if there's 2 people that need it, there's probably more. So I went to my photographer, my makeup artist, and said, guys, you know what, there's a need for this. I'm seeing it more now than anything because this is what I'm doing. Let's form this group, let's form this team so that we can offer now convenience. So yeah, and it went really well. So we did one during it was May. We did it. Yes, in May. So we plan to do them every few months. It's just that now with COVID and some places not being open, and a lot of times people are kind of concerned with even coming out. So we put it on pause until the fall. Hopefully by then things are kind of back to half normal if we ever get there. And we're going to do it again. So it's a service that we want to provide to offer convenience to our potential clients.
It's so beautifully put together. And even so, with the pandemic, I noticed you were on point with all of the, making sure everyone was masked in certain areas or whatever the needs that they needed. Like, it was so clean. It was really well put together and spaced out. And I thought, yeah, I could see how this could be a beautiful need. And it's being able to do it in one day or in however many hours. Like, how wonderful for a business owner to be able to go in and out and have you work through with them. These are the different kind of looks that we're going through. This is our color, branding, all that kind of stuff, so that it just makes it so much easier. Because let's face it, this design element is not everyone's forte. So the fact that you can bring your artistic creativity into that alongside of your planning capabilities is a really neat pairing. And so that's great. So now you had mentioned you had a real full month booked of clients. And so you work with people. Do you work on a retainer basis? Do you work month to month? Or how does this work for you with your clients?
So I offer 2 programs, very similar to how you have your programs as well. So I have a monthly program. It's there's no contract. Again, from a business standpoint, the idea is to create consistent income and have a great work-life balance. Sometimes things happen. So I don't want to lock anybody in a contract to say that, okay, you have to stay with a certain amount of time. I recommend that, they have a commitment of at least 6 months. Again, if you need to take a pause for family needs or anything comes up, for sure, go ahead. I do ask for 30 days notice, but other than that, it's a month-to-month service wherein we do an assessment. So we have an onboarding first that takes place. I do a full assessment of their business. Where are they now? Where do they want to be? Then we set SMART goals, and we do a 30-day, 90-day, and then, it's 30, 60, 90-day plan, as well as a goals that are surrounding that. So one big thing that I notice that a lot of business consultants lack or don't offer is accountability. So with the monthly program, we meet a minimum of twice a month for 1 hour. In between that, I have accountability checks. So I will call them in the weeks in between to check in and say, hey, Sheila, how's it going? how is it going with the goals they were working on for this week? So at least then they know that they have to kind of report to me, have an accountability to me versus just saying it's a goal and then they don't do it. So I found that works really well as the feedback I got from my clients. Like it makes a huge difference because before we would just say, yeah, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it, and then keep pushing it off and never get it done. And then months fly by. Look how quickly time is flying. We're halfway through the year. Can you imagine halfway through the year?
I can't imagine. It's wild.
Yeah. So I said, before you know it, you can waste an entire day and not utilize your time efficiently. And then, that can lead to depression because now you're hoping to be somewhere that you're not because you didn't use your time efficiently. So I do an accountability check in between our monthly meetings. And so that's option one. The other option is which I just launched, is the pay-per-use. I'm trying to find another term that's a bit better, but that one is if you have a quick question you want to ask me, instead of being in the monthly program, you can just call and we can talk one-on-one for half an hour or for an hour. So you don't have to be part of the actual program. So there's a lot of different flexibility there in terms of what your needs are. I am working on doing a couple of programs too, so that like online workshops, so that if you don't have the time to make the call, if you don't have time to do the monthly meeting, I have a program that you can do on your own as you have time. So I was trying to make as many different avenues as possible.
It's nice to have those online programs available because you probably find you're getting the same questions over and over. And
Exactly.
so those programs can answer that. And then if they're wanting more accountability, whatever the case may be, they can reach you and work from there. And yes, really, you are business coaching people and brand coaching, because I do agree. We need accountability when we're doing something, especially that's new to us.
Yeah.
Because it can feel kind of scary. It can feel uncertain because we're trying to do something that is so foreign to us. And so having someone to cheerlead you on the side and to make sure you're going through those motions that you had said you were going to, you'll actually get the results. So it must be really rewarding for you. That's one thing when you were talking about earlier, how you try to be very transparent about the good days, the not so good days. You're also very transparent about celebrating, this joy of life that you have when you have these clients who are trusting you with helping you guide them in their business. It really makes you feel good. And yeah, I love that you have that. And I understand, like I wanted to say earlier, I'm so sorry for the loss of your sister.
Thank you.
Such a sad thing to go through. And there are lessons there. I lost my sister 8 years ago, and we're 2 years apart. So she was 43.
Yeah.
And so when I turned 43, I had that same feeling that you were referring to of, whoa, okay, I'm still here. And it's just involuntary that you have this feeling, but it does give you a whole new perspective on, well, I'm still here. So now what?
Exactly.
What do I want it to mean? What do I want to do with my life?
Yeah.
And, I'm not sure what your relationship was with your sister, but I'm sure she'd be very proud of you.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, we were extremely close, extremely, extremely close. And like you said, it was one of those things for me that, she had passed away at that time when I turned 30. So maybe 10 years. Yeah. 10 years prior to that. So, you kind of go through the motions, but it hit me, and it wasn't anything that I was thinking about or anything. It was just, it came to me that she was my age when she passed away. And I went into a huge life reflection at that point. And I was like, okay, what am I really doing? What's my purpose? Like, do I feel fulfilled? What is it? Am I helping people? Am I, and so it was a huge shift for me when my birthday came. And I've just been trying to appreciate every part of life. I started doing affirmations. I started writing down all the great things that happened in my day. A lot of times it's so easy for us to get caught up just living, just living. You get up, you make breakfast, take care of the kids, you work, you go to sleep, you do it all over again. But now I try to have purposeful things. I want to be able to help as much people as I can. That's where, it becomes rewarding for me. Beyond the finances or anything like that, it becomes very rewarding to see that, okay, I helped someone get there. And they're very grateful. My clients are amazing. They're amazing. I wish I could post some of the notes they text me. And it's just hearing those wins. Another thing that we do as business owners, we get so caught up chasing the goals that we don't celebrate the wins. So that's why I'm very big on celebrating them all the way, because we think that, okay, I'm going to celebrate when I hit 100,000 followers. I'm going to celebrate when I made $100 million. No, let's celebrate each win, because it's the small wins that allow you to get to the big win. And again, going back to myself, I used to be so caught up and people are like, wow, you're doing great. I'm like, no, I'm not. What do you mean? I didn't do this, I didn't do that. And you're so focused on the things you didn't do that you don't appreciate the things you have done. So again, it's just a mind shift in terms of looking at the glass half full, looking back and saying, wow, I made 3 more steps today than I did yesterday. It makes a huge difference, because it's just, you can be your own cheerleader, essentially. So
Absolutely.
that's kind of where that comes from too.
Absolutely. And I feel like, for us to, depending on people's faith systems, I'm a Jesus follower. And so when I think about, I know I'm not in this alone. I believe that God's got my back, and
100%.
alongside of that, that gives me the extra bit of oomph to be able to do the things that I feel led to do. I know that those things, those ideas and desires planted within me are not necessarily just of my own making. They were planted there perhaps, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there is a grander purpose. And I believe we were created to do life together. So we can all help each other. We're all different and it can look so beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And so my whole focus being with self-care and helping people simplify their wellness so they can live their purpose more fully and energized while doing so. I'm curious for you as an in-demand business owner and with all of the other responsibilities you have, what are your favorite ways to nurture your self-care? And is faith part of that as well?
Oh, for sure. So number of things. One, I love to listen to music and I love to listen to Joyce Myers. She is like my virtual best friend that, that nobody else knows. Not everybody, a lot of people know her, but I love to hear. She's very empowering. She's like a great motivation for me. So if I'm feeling down or feeling any way, I listen to her, but I've also tried to listen to her on an ongoing basis. So not only when I feel need to. Same thing with prayers. Old me used to only pray when I needed something, where things got rough. I'm trying to be more consistent with that, teach my children to, have a consistent prayer, a consistent relationship with God, not only when you need something or things aren't working out. I do my affirmations, which have helped tremendously. I write down positive things. Like you can't see it, but on my wall, I have like little sticky notes and I try to write down one good thing that happened that day, at least one, regardless of how my day went. I try to find something good out of it. I actually have a magic marker for my mirror. I write in my mirror too, in my bedroom, to write little notes to myself. It helps to, again, change that mindset, because so many times we can default to the negative and, I had such a bad day, or, this happened, that happened. But when you extract the bad and you take out the good, and how small the good may be, it makes a huge difference. I like to listen to music. I like to sing and dance to myself. I do little weird things, like the kids are sleeping, I'll go in the bathroom and I'll listen to a song and I'll just kind of dance it out for a bit. That's just my way of just kind of getting free for a little bit. Prior to COVID, I loved to travel. I used to go and travel, see my best friend in the States, travel to the Caribbean, go to Europe. But since I haven't been a flight attendant anymore, I haven't been able to do it as often. And talk to my friends. We do a lot of online games. So we try to meet up at least once a month. Sometimes we try to do twice. And we just play virtual games. My friends are all over. My best friends in the States. And then I have a few friends in Toronto. So just connecting with the people that matter, that are close to me. Those are the things that I do to kind of. And food. I love food. I love to eat. So I treat myself. I treat myself like once a week to eat something that I don't have to cook. And those are kind of the ways that I reward myself in terms of just having a good balance of doing things that I enjoy and find fun, as well as business.
That is all so nourishing.
Yeah.
And being able to treat yourself to a meal that you didn't cook, like that is a beautiful thing. I'm really in conversations with a lot of women about how can we do things like that? How can we batch cook? How can we delegate? How can we create the kitchen as a playing field where it's like a team sport? Everybody takes their turn leading in the kitchen
I do it with
throughout
my
the
kids.
week. Kids included, right? Like
Yeah.
such an important life skill, but also it takes the pressure off you. So you can start to enjoy when you're in there. You're like, oh, I'm not cooking 3 times a day. I can actually
Yeah.
enjoy this experience
Yeah.
because there is so much joy in the process of cooking, like the love
Yeah.
that's poured into a meal. That
Oh,
is
for
all
sure.
so good.
Oh yeah, I started with my kids, especially my daughter. She loves to. I'll give her like a little plastic knife, and I'm like, okay, here, cut the tomatoes. And so I'll do little things like that. And now she looks forward to it because then that's a new way of responding. Not only am I just cooking, I'm actually cooking with my kids. So and they love that. And anytime we're eating, I'm like, oh, Savannah made the whatever, and she feels really good about that. So that's been like another thing too. I also forgot to mention going outside once a day. I wasn't doing that before. I was so caught up. I went and buy a bicycle. So me and the kids, we go bike ride. All of us go bike riding, and we found a lot of beautiful trails around here. And sometimes we just go for a walk, but usually bike riding and just to get outside. We go for like an hour or two, get some fresh air every single day. So the things, just small little things, make huge differences. Huge.
Absolutely. The
Yeah.
creativity that comes from that, and you're
Oh yeah.
recharged, re energized,
Yeah.
and not feeling like all you're doing is working because
Yeah.
life is so much more than just that. Even when we, as entrepreneurs who love what we do, it can be easy to work all the time. So it's so
Yeah.
nice when you break things up that way and have other
Sure.
things to support yourself.
Oh yeah.
Well, Suseth, I am so grateful you could be here today. Thank you for sharing your story and thank you for sharing about your business. I think the listeners will really gain some good ideas from what you shared and also giving them that permission that they need to really do the things that are important to them and be able to ask for help for the
Yeah.
rest. I'm
Oh, for
really
sure.
excited for what the future holds for you and the work you're doing.
Thank you so much, Sheila. I really appreciate it. I appreciate you taking the time to speak with me today. I really enjoy what I do, and it makes a huge difference when you have a passion behind it. It makes everything genuine. So I really appreciate you having me here today. Share my story.
Oh, yes. Friends, thank you for listening. Please find and follow Sue Knows Business on Instagram. And we would also love to know what resonated the most for you from today's conversation. Tag us at Instagram at Sheila A. Botello and at Sue Knows Business to let us know. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you so much for being here with me on the Connect podcast. If you like this episode, please share it with someone you think would enjoy it. Also, if you head over to iTunes to leave a review, I'd be so grateful. Let us know what your favorite parts were and what you'd like to hear more of. It will help us have a greater impact, elevating many more people to grow and succeed together. See you next time.